Hey, I'm Corey Heald. I'm the team lead on Sentinels of Freedom at Underbite Games, and with me is Brian and Levi. Brian's one of the artists, and Levi is one of the developers. And we're just going to go through some questions and talk about Bunker this week and see where it goes. So, everybody ready?
Yep.
Awesome. So, Brian, first question for you. Did Bunker pose any challenges for you from a modeling standpoint?
So we had to take a different look at Bunker because, again, opposed to the other characters, he's more of like a mech. He's made out of everything hard body surfaces. He's not soft like a human, squishy. So with him, we had to kind of take into consideration how he moves and make sure that he doesn't like intersect with himself. And then also when we're modeling his individual pieces, we have to make sure that they can move. So like when his arm comes up, it doesn't intersect with the other part of his arm. So really, it was just making sure that those pieces of his body kind of work well together with each other.
Nice.
So Corley, in the card game, Bunker has quite he's got many modes and many abilities and stuff like that, and he can really change in how he feels in combat. So what kind of stances and abilities can we see in Sentinels?
Well, really, Bunker is focused on range type attacks for the most part. In the game so far, it's one of the most fun things to do is to just let loose with a Gatling gun and just mow down a whole bunch of guys as they come out of a building or something like that. So that's been a lot of fun. The other thing is he's very heavy on the defensive side, but in what's called vigilance actions. So he can get kind of caught, especially in turret mode, in the middle of somewhere. And so guys will gang up on him, and then unbeknownst to them, he just ignites and basically burns them all. So, so that's been really, really fun. You can just take down a lot of enemies, but also he's got some defensive actions as well as he's got Overwatch. We've heard of that term before in a lot of other places, but his Overwatch will trigger, especially if you're in this front arc, and basically allow for him to just constantly be doing damage. That's one of the things that Bunker does. It just pretty much hurts everybody in the screen. And then he's also got his iconic Omni Cannon.
Yes.
A unique thing about the Omni Cannon is instead of using action points, which most characters' movements and abilities use, Bunker has special points that are his charges. And with the charges, he's able to build up the ability to use the Omni Cannon on top of his other actions, making him just crazy, crazy tough. So
Awesome.
So Levi, again, going back to the dev side, was there anything unique about Bunker in the development? Again, him being more of a mech character as opposed to being a human?
Yeah, so when we design systems, we don't want to make specialty cases if we can help it. So we want the system to accommodate sort of anything that a character can do, so that anything that Bunker can do, really anyone else should be able to do, and stuff like that, just so the system kind of handles it. So outside of that, though, the special consideration that we had to come up with Bunker was his modes and stuff like that, like actually switching between the modes is like a big visual change and stuff like that. And so we had to make sure that we had a system in place that we could actually swap models. And so because we had to add that in for him, we could actually use it for other characters as well. So for example, Expatriate, when she switches stances, she can actually like pull out different weapons and stuff like that, like bazookas, like shotguns, like all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Levi mentioned turret mode. That's been a common thing with Bunker, among a few other things that came up. So turret mode is something we've seen sketches and little bits of, but this was the first time we've kind of seen him in full 3D form. And you want to tell us a little bit about that process and
Yeah.
everything?
So yeah, that was a really fun one for us on the art team because again, we got to visualize what Bunker was going to look like in these forms, and then also how he would transition from those forms. So again, working with Greater Than Games with how he's going to look, they kind of gave us some loose sketches and ideas of how he would look, and then we just kind of took the existing elements of him, like his arms and his legs, and we kind of just used those, turned him into more of a fortified lower center of gravity, just turret, big huge gun, and then again, that's what his form became.
Cool. Well, you guys did an awesome job because he looks menacing and awesome.
So yeah, talking about Bunker and all these modes, what was it like making abilities for the Bunker?
Well, Bunker is a challenge because, like you said earlier, he's got all these different modes, but a lot of them actually put him into a spot where he's immobile. And so one of the changes we had to do was make sure that when there's only one mode that Bunker is immobile in, because currently in the game you get to take two themed stances. So basically you can go in and say, I'm in operations mode, or I'm in support mode, or I'm in turret mode. But we had to made it a decision to make it so that only one of those is immobile. Otherwise, as a player, you'd put him in both modes and he would not go anywhere, and it'd be a really boring game. So not the most exciting thing. So one other thing that Bunker turret mode is obviously a big thing for him in the game. But also, another big thing that's unique about Bunker is his size. He's supposed to be 10 feet tall. And so there was some questions and some thoughts that came into that, some challenges with him being as big as he is. So Brian, from your side of things on the art team, was his size actually a factor in any of that?
So that's really a yes and no. So physically making him bigger is just easy. It's one of the gimmies in 3D where you just take the scale tool and you just say make him taller.
Cool.
So that one was pretty easy. But the thing that we had to also consider was he's 10 foot tall and he's made of metal, so he's going to have a lot of weight going on. So when we animated him, we had to take all that weight into consideration. So like when he gets hit, it's like 700 pounds, don't quote me on that one, of metal just like getting hit, blasted back, and then he's got to recover from that. So again, taking things a little bit slower and just making it feel like he did weigh just a ton.
Cool. Speaking of animations, there was a question posted online about transition, so we just want to address that as well. Do you have anything to say about transitioning from turret mode to operations mode and back and forth from the video?
So yeah, that one we kind of have a little bit of a transition animation for him where he just kind of like hunkers down, and then we have two different like 3D meshes to where like one is the turret mode or whatever other mode, and the other is his normal like biped humanoid mode. So realistically, we just have his biped humanoid mode just kind of like crunch down and like get into position in a sense because he doesn't actually transform. And then that other mesh kind of kicks in with a little bit of special effects in there to kind of mask that transition.
Cool.
Yeah, so speaking of Bunker's size, did that come with any design issues for like how he was in a level or anything like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, he when you're 10 feet tall, are supposed to be walking through a normal door is a difficult thing. To shoot a little bit, he's not quite 10 feet tall, but he's definitely imposing, and it looks awesome when he does it. So, and then again, going back to that turret mode, that was a factor, is just making sure that Bunker is not going to be stuck in one place and unable to do anything. So that's a great question.
So again, one more thing to address about his size would just be on the development size. Did that have any effect on development at all?
So typically the size of things don't come into play too often, but it actually did for Bunker because of some of the UI choices that we're making. A lot of the elements that we're showing on screen are actually dynamically like rendered from the camera, so you can see the people animating while still being part of the UI. And so Bunker being twice the size of a lot of other characters, we had a lot of sort of like overlapping kind of going on and stuff. So dealing with that was definitely interesting.
Nice. Well, guys, thanks so much. These were just some quick questions we had. We wanted to address those, and also you can see a little bit of the team. We'll be doing these on the topics as we go forward, and looking forward to the questions. Keep posting them, and we'll look forward to talking with you. Thanks a lot.